Hello everybody, yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed. Hello everybody, yes indeed, yes indeed, my darling. They had never heard, have you heard that before?
No.
See, they come on that fast. Let's tell a story, yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed. Let's tell a story, yes indeed, yes indeed, my darlings. You know my throat's always scratchy, so y'all have to help me out. They can tell stories, they help tell them, they act them out and everything. This story is about a boy named Jack, and you probably heard about the one that climbed the beanstalk, right? Well, this is about another one, a different one, and it has. You remember Henny Penny? Had two different names, Chicken Little and Henny Penny. Well, this story has two different names too. One of the names is Silly Jack, and another name for the story is Obedient Jack. And so I like Obedient Jack because I just like obedient. But Jack was silly, but he didn't mean to be. You know, Henny Penny was silly because when an acorn hit her on the head, what did she think happened?
The sky
was falling. And she almost got her friends and herself and everybody else eaten up because she's so silly. Well, he wasn't silly that way. And you know, when you go to a party or when you're having fun, you act silly just for fun. Well, he wasn't silly that way either. What was silly about him was sometimes he'd make mistakes, and he didn't really mean to. He was trying, you know, Henny Penny was working on it. She was working on not being so excitable, and he was working on it too.
It's kind of like Amelia Bedelia.
Have you heard that one before?
Yeah.
Yes.
I watch a lot of it.
Well, this will probably be a little bit different because I don't know how that one goes, so this might be a little bit different. Well, Jack was not only silly, he was very polite. He always said, yes ma'am. He always said thank you. He always said please. He always said excuse me. He was a very polite boy. And besides that, he was very obedient. He did what his mama told him to. He did what his teacher told him to. He did what the principal told him to. He did what his boss told him to. He tried his best to be very obedient. And so, he was growing up, and he got a job, and he went over to, the job was across town, over the bridge, and over out in the countryside, and he was going to work for a farmer. And so, he went to work for a farmer that day. He worked all day long. And at the end of the day, he went into the house. The farmer says, Jack, you did good work today, very good work. I'm ready to give you your wages. He reached down into his pocket, if I can find, and he pulled out, oh my goodness, don't tell me I lost it. He pulled out, he said, you followed directions very good today. And you did, here's your wages. And this was a long time ago, and $1 used to buy lots of stuff, and Jack had never had $1 in his life before. This is your wages for today. Now, I don't know whether George Washington's picture was on the one he got, but it had a pretty picture on it. So and he had never, ever had $1 before of his very own. And he says, oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very kindly. And so he, all the way home, walking all the way across the field and all the way down the road to his house, he was looking at that dollar. It had pretty pictures on the front, pretty pictures on the back. Oh, he was so proud of that dollar. And he got to the bridge. He liked to fish. So he said, I wonder what if this river has any fish in it. He was leaning over, holding the dollar like this, leaning over, looking over the rail and looking down into the water to see if he saw any fish. And there were some fish down there. He was really excited. All of a sudden, along comes this great big puff of wind and blew the dollar right out of his hand, right down into the water. And it floated. He couldn't swim a long way down to there. and it just started floating away. Show how it was floating. And all he could do was just watch it float away. He says, oh no, it's gone, and I can't get it back. So he went on home. When he got home, his mama says, Jack, did you do good work today? He says, oh yes ma'am, I did good work. The farmer told me so. She says, well, did you get your wages for today? And he said, oh yes ma'am, he paid me $1 bill. And she says, oh, that's fine, where is it? He says, well mama, what happened? I was looking down at, you know, that bridge on the other side of town over there. I was looking down there because I'd see if there was any fish. And a puff of wind came and blew my dollar right out of my hand, right into the water, and it just floated away. And she says, Jack, you haven't got the sense you was born with. Anybody was to give you $1, you put it down into your pocket. You don't walk around with it, waving it in your hand. You can remember that, can't you, Jack? He says, oh, yes, ma'am, I can remember that. I remember it. I'm sorry about that. So the next day he went back to work for the farmer again. And at the end of the day, whenever he was finished working, he tried to do everything the farmer said, just right, and he did. And when he got finished, he went to the farmhouse, and the farmer says, well, here's your wages for today. And there, sitting right in the middle of the table, was a big jug of fresh sweet milk. And the farmer says, this is the most delicious sweet milk. It's got cream on it. Your mama can put that in her coffee in the morning. You can put it over your cereal, and your mama could even make some butter out of it. Did you know you can make butter out of milk?
Yeah.
She could even make cheese. She says, that's a fine wages. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And so he took that jug and he went out and he got to the gate and he says, now what did she say, dude? Oh, yeah. She said, put it in your pocket. So he pulled out his pocket and he took that jug of milk and he poured that milk right down into his pocket, but it ran down his leg, all the way down to his boot. A lot of it ran out on the ground. He walked on home. That was kind of squishy, squish, squish, squish. When he got home, his mama says, well, Jack, did you do good work today? He says, oh, yes, ma'am, I sure did. The farmer said, I did good work. She says, well, what did you get for your wages today? He says, Mama, he gave me a jug of milk, and he said he said it was fresh and sweet. You could put it in your coffee and on my cereal, and you could even make, Mama, you know how to make butter out of milk? She says, of course I do, Jack. Where's the milk? He says, well, some of it's in my shoe, and a lot of it's on the ground. He says, I remember what you told me to do. I put it in my pocket, and it all ran down. You want to see if you want some of this in my boot? She says, Jack, you haven't got the sense you was born with. Anybody was to give you a jug of milk. Now this is in a different country. I never saw anybody do this before, but this is the way it was where they lived. She says, anybody was to give you a jug of milk, you just take that jug of milk and sit it right up on your head and walk with it your head real smooth. Don't turn that way and that way, but walk real slowly and come straight home. Now I thought, I never saw anybody carry anything on their head. But in some countries, they carry a lot of stuff on their head. They carry boxes and baskets. And just last night, I was watching television, because I don't know whether y'all ever seen people carrying stuff on their head or not, but maybe in magazines or on TV. I was watching the news about Haiti. Never heard about that? And a lady walked by with a big basket on her head.